This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
And then somewhere along the way, we meet Ted Allen. Remind us of how that story came to be.
Again, avid fan, watched TV. I could tell you anybody. It's a funny thing about, and I think that's the reason people still recognize us today. When you're on TV and you're a wrestler, that camera just zooms in on your face. It's not like football or baseball where you're shot from a distance. They got a cap pulled over their eyes or a helmet on their head. When you're a wrestler, it zooms in on your face, and that's what people remember. So I was at the stadium, Barron Stadium. It's where the high school football was played on Friday night. But I was over there after I was through working out with the weights. I stopped there and I was running, and I, ran a couple miles, whatever it was. It wasn't a whole hell of a lot. And as I was leaving, it happened to be a Thursday that Georgia Championship Wrestling was in town. And as I was leaving to get in my car, Ted Allen pulled up and got out of his car, and I immediately recognized him. And then it hit me. I went, oh God, it's Thursday. I bet they're wrestling here. So I went up to him. He was opening his trunk, and I think I said, hello, sir. My name is so-and-so. I recognize you off television. You're a wrestler, correct? He said, yeah, sure am. And I said, well, I don't know how to even ask this, but how would someone like me start to begin to, be a wrestler? How would I get in the wrestling business? Now, in that day and era, most wrestlers would have looked at me and said, you can't, or, F off, or whatever the case may be, or beat it. It just so happened he was a nice man, and he looked me over. He says, so what are you doing over here? I guess he was making sure I wasn't stalking, He said, I see you're all sweaty. What are you doing over here? I said, well, I just got done running. I got through lifting weights earlier and stuff. I love what you do. I would love to be able to do that. It's all I've ever wanted to do since I was 8 years old. And when he figured out that I was legitimate, at least in my story, he said, well, I'll tell you what, hold on. He wrote down his name and number. He said, if you got $500, I'll train you myself. Here's my number. You think about it. You let me know. So I called him the next day. I didn't have $500, but my granny did.
Right.
And I said, I think I have a shot. Well, I'm talking to, she said, okay, I'll let you have the money if you're sure. But son, that's a lot of money in this house. I hope you're not going to just throw it away. And I said, no, I assure you, I will get that money back to you as soon as I possibly can. Another friend of mine heard me talking about this opportunity, and his dad, his name was Mal and Ted Hicks. They own Hicks Furniture Store. Jerry, who has popped in and out of the gym several times, really a nice man. He knew my story, no parents growing up and all that stuff. He said, you really want to do this? I said, yeah, I sure do. He said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make it easy for you. Get me in touch with this Ted Allen. I got room in the back of my furniture store. I'll see if he knows how to buy a ring. I'll put a ring back there and give you all a place to train.
Wow.
So when I told Ted, not only did I have the $500, Tony Zane, friend of mine growing up, he as well wanted to train. I said, how would you feel about training a couple of us? He said, well, yeah, that won't make a difference. I said, we have the money. And there was a third guy, David McGee. We all had $500. Ted had a big day that day. And I said, we have a guy that's going to put a ring, if you can find us one or sell one, and he's going to put it right here because, we have jobs. We still have to keep our job, obviously. And he said, well, yeah, obviously. So Ted or Mr. Hicks bought the ring from Ted, put it in his store, and that we started training from that time. And just from watching what we had seen on TV, we were able to do some stuff already. And Ted said, well, God, you guys are going to be okay. And we had about, I would say, 8 to 10 workouts twice a week for maybe 5 weeks. And that's where he said, hey, I can get you guys on TV. I could take you to Knoxville and I can get you booked. Now you're going to get a knot pounded in your ass. I'm just going to tell you before you go. That was the least of my worries. So he took us up to Knoxville. And that particular time, Blackjack Mulligan had a territory.
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. You really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com.
Up in Knoxville.
Very briefly with Flair, right?
Very briefly. Yes, sir. And that's where I saw Kelvin Sullivan for the first time and Blackjack Mulligan for the first time and a bunch of different wrestlers. So we did that TV a couple of times, maybe twice. And then we continued to train. And Ted said, guys, I got incredible news for you. I can get you booked on Atlanta TV.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine
Put that perspective, everybody. Atlanta TV is no longer just a regional channel. Atlanta TV means TBS, the Superstation, Georgia Championship Wrestling, 605. It's everywhere, right?
It's the deal.
It's the deal. It's the biggest wrestling show in the world.
Whether you're going to get thumped or do the thumping, if you show up on that TV, you are seen across the country. The exposure is ridiculous. So we got a couple of weeks of that. And now we're training 3 days a week. And tempo is picked up. And about that 3rd or 4th week of doing television, I got booked against Bob and Brad Armstrong. And that was my break. In those days, they didn't talk to you very much. The guys that were the stars, we were just there as tackling dummies. We knew our job. We knew our role. But we went out there and started having a little match, and I just tried a couple of things. I think I just grabbed an arm or reversed an arm. He was working an arm or something. I flipped over and, took a single leg, just some wrestling around, which made me look like maybe I knew more than what I did. We had our match. I think the guy that was my partner was named Deke Rivers. Find that name. I think that's who it was. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, I got to do some stuff when the match was over. Bob and, Brad came back to me backstage. Went, we've never seen you before. Where are you from? I said, well, right down the road, sir, from Rome. He said, really? He said, so we're neighbors. Bob is from Marietta and
right.
The Armstrongs. So that kind of was like a door opening a little bit. He said, well, you handled yourself pretty good out there. You interested on, going on the road? And I said, sir, that's all I've ever wanted to do is be a wrestler. Yeah, absolutely. He says, well, I'm booking down in Pensacola, Florida. I just came up, Brad and I, to get some exposure on TV. We're going to be going back. He said, I've got 3 weeks, a slot where I've got 3 weeks of work for you if you want it. Do you have a job? I said, yes, sir, I do have a job. He says, what do you do? I went, I'm an assistant market manager in a grocery store. He said, well, that's a pretty good job, isn't it? I said, yes, sir, it is. It's really good for Rome. He said, well, all I've got is 3 weeks. Don't quit your job. I said, I'll quit my job. As a matter of fact, I just quit my job right now, if you can really use me. And he says, well, yeah, you start Monday. This was on a Saturday. He said, You go home, pack a couple bags. He said, I'll see you Monday in Birmingham. Well, I went in and turned in a 1-day notice on the meat cutting job that I had for 4 years now. You, as an employer, you tell me how that was received.
That sucks, but as hot as the meat market guy would have been, Granny had to be hotter.
She couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Son, you have got a good job. You've got a job that you could keep for 20 years. You can retire at that job. I said, Granny, I know. And it's just a gut feeling, but I know if I get a full chance, I can do this. And I know on the other end, the upside's going to be far greater than what I can accomplish in that grocery store. She said, don't do it. Please don't do it. Don't do it. I said, this is one time I have to go against you. I know I can do this. So she said, okay. And I went down and I did my 3 weeks and I got to work with Bob pretty much every night.
And that's where you really got your education in the wrestling business. And that's where we'll take a pause for this week's episode. We hit the reset button, taking it back, talking about growing up Arn. We'll be back next week to sort of pick up where we left off. But man, I'm having fun. Just you telling stories and us all sitting under the Arn Anderson learning tree today. I appreciate you being open to a fresh, I think Bruce calls it a fresh coat of paint here on the show.
Well, I mean, it's just important that we all know it's not about where you start in life. It's where you end up.
That's right.
And I'm so blessed to be doing this podcast with you. You have given me an opportunity to thank all the fans and let them know about the Arn Anderson they didn't know. And I never thought years and years ago that I would enjoy doing this, or that I had the aptitude for it, or that I could just bare my soul. But, hey, if it helps one person achieve their goal and what they're trying to do in life, then we did something here. So thanks for your patience, and let's just start from the beginning and relive all of it.
I'm looking forward to it. We'll be back next week right here on Arn.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.